Good morning, everyone, and welcome to round 6 of this K through 6 elementary championships from Columbus, Ohio. I'm Women's Grandmaster Sabina Foisor, joined by my wonderful co-host, Grandmaster
Thank
Kayden
you.
Troff.
It's good to be here. We're excited for the final day of chess here in Columbus, Ohio. I mean, yesterday, a lot of fighting games, and it's only going to be more so as more and more players know that they have to be pushing for victories to get that first place, that coveted number 1 spot. Oh, I'm excited.
I'm very excited. We had so many interesting games yesterday, some super positional games by players who, their rating might not have shown that, but clearly those kids are the future of US chess. And we are very excited to be able to do commentary for their games now. And who knows, in a few years, we might have a new candidate to the world championship. So
Yeah.
that would be quite amazing. That's how you build strong character by playing in these tournaments and learning chess, learning psychology, learning from your mistakes,
Yeah,
and maybe winning some
100%.
titles. But even if you're not winning titles, you can still have the
It's still
opportunity to
good
get rid.
experience. It's still good to be here. Yeah, it's kind of funny if you play in a few of these events and you continue with chess. It's very common that years from now you're like, oh, I played against this player. I mean, David Howell and Magnus Carlsen just did a polygraph test back and forth, and
Yes,
and
I saw
and
that.
Howell was like, "Did you feel upset when I kept you from winning this title way back when?" So, you play in these tournaments, you keep with it. These are the people you can expect to see for years and years to come to go back and forth and battle. So it's kind of fun that way.
And it goes to show that, even if a result might happen, it doesn't necessarily mean that that specific person might go on to become world champion. Maybe it's gonna be the one who had lost that game. They'll keep in the grudge and keep fighting harder, and
Extra motivation.
get to become a world champion maybe one day. But yeah, that was definitely a very interesting video. I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
I never expected would see some of the questions that showed up there, but
Yeah,
it
very,
was
very interesting.
certainly very interesting. And we don't have moves yet. There's the players have started their round at 9 a.m. Eastern time, but we do have a 15-minute delay.
Yeah,
And
so it should be any minute now.
any
Any
minute.
any second we'll start seeing some moves. I do have that pulled up. Oh, and there as we're saying it, moves have begun in the event. Good morning to those in chat, by the way. Welcome. Glad to see you. One person in chat's commenting on my hair, which is not as weird as normally it would be. I always wear a hat outside.
Yeah, I know.
Just shout out to those at USCF. I want you to know the respect I have for the stream and not showing up wearing a hat as I do 99% of my life.
I see. Or maybe that was just a forcing thing. Maybe you're just forced into it.
Maybe.
Maybe people just want to see your hair. So,
uh,
but
Crazy.
it's nice to have you here, Kayden, and we're excited that you're here with or without a hat. But let's see. So in the K through 6 championship, looking at the pairings right now, or standings, we actually have 3 players with 4.5 points, and they are playing against each other. But Tariq is actually playing someone who's only 4 points. He's playing against Jashit Karthi.
Yeah, I did notice that, which
It's a bit interesting because he plays on first board, but the other two are playing on second.
yeah, and it's I think really important for Carthy here, with the white pieces to go all out. Like if you're not giving 110% in this game, I mean, you're a half point down. You have to. So I really expect this board one in the K6 championship section to be a huge fight. So far with the game starting, it is a King's Indian, which can be crazy. If you haven't lived till you've played a good King's Indian game, or okay, I don't know if I've played a good King's Indian game with the white
Okay.
pieces, admittedly.
Are you
But
saying that I still have to leave because I never played a King's Indian?
it's
I played some Benoni. Does that count or
that's
yeah?
that's close, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
close to it. I need to essay more of the King's Indian.
It's
I like it for white personally.
one of the biggest tragedies of my uh chess career against the King's Indian. I was playing this game years ago, and it was one of those that I played. Like, it was one of the best games that I'd ever played against the King's Indian defense. I was finding all the moves. I was coming up with some brilliant plans, and then when it came time for the critical moment, I messed it up and I ended up losing the
Oh,
game. And it's one of those heartbreaking moments, but that is very normal for these King's Indian positions. They get very messy. And even if you do get a good position, the practical chances for both sides can be long lasting. So bishop e2, bishop e3 variation here. The fight's beginning. Starting with this board one in the K6 championship section.
yeah. The idea is that you're stopping knight g4, of course, so you don't develop the knight in f3 just yet, and you're not really showing where the f2 pawn is going yet.
Yeah.
But actually, I have tried this line for quite a bit. I like this line for white. There's so many systems that white can play, but of course, I think usually black's plans tend to be a bit simpler than white's. Although, it doesn't mean that it leads to a victory, but it just seems easier because if you play with e5, your plan is going to be to play on the king side, whereas, for white, sometimes they play on the king side, sometimes on the queen side, despite them having more space on the queen side. So I think it's definitely no.
Yeah. Um, I mean, I don't know this variation borderline at all, if I'm being
Knight
honest.
c6, right? And knight
I
c6 with
That's what
e5,
I
or you
was
can go
wondering.
e5 directly.
So e5, the move would be what, d5, knight
d5. I think
d.
knight f3 is an option as well, and knight g4, bishop g5, right? If you do that, I've seen
Yeah.
those lines being played. I think, is it here that black can play c5? Well, not here, but instead of e5, I think c5 is an additional idea for him.
It's Yeah, it looks like f6 is played the most here. Bishop h4 just to show this a little bit. Knight c6, d5, knight e7. It's kind of interesting. Someone in chat was mentioning my streaming partner at Chess Sharks, Tony. And now that I think about it, the only time I believe I've seen a variation like this was from one of his games, where it's the opening actually got messed up for both sides. There are some just little subtleties here. Knight h6, h5, f5, all moves. So I don't know. These positions can be a little funky, is how I would say it.
But black, I think, played something different. I believe he played c5 in that position.
c5.
Yeah. And white decided not to take the pawn. I wouldn't have taken it either in c5. There are some interesting lines, but now we have some Benoni style position, and knight g4 is not possible. Black's gonna have plans with a6 and a6 b5, and it will be a game.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe we should check in on some of the other top
Yeah,
boards.
let's go on
So,
board 2. We had an Alapin Sicilian there.
oh, this is main line, right? With knight f6.
Yeah, and the other two players with 4.5. They're actually battling it out against each other.
Yeah, even though this is board 2, points wise, they have more points than board 1, both having 4.5. Board 1, one of the players has 4 points. So definitely the game to watch. Although this is always one of those interesting situations because on board 1 you have 4 points, you push for a win. These players, you both have 4.5. You may want to push for a win, but you may also feel like, if we both get a draw, we're still up there. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, it's pretty nice.
Well, yesterday some of the players kind of took an easy way out. They drew their games quite fast, I would say, on those first two boards, if you remember. And so, now I think they got a good night's sleep. This is the first game of the day. Hopefully, they're ready for it. And this is gonna be an isolated pawn position most likely, right? After d4, eventually
Well,
black might.
it's been a long minute since I've really analyzed these positions. But this bishop f5, did bishop f5 the move? I mean, looking at the games played here, it looks like bishop e6 is the main move, and then c4. Bishop f5 is played, but white actually has a very high win percentage after this. Does it potentially just transpose?
Chesslover mentions that Esserman is analyzing this in his book on
Ah,
Sicilian. But I thought he wrote a book on the Smith-Morra.
probably. While he is a Smith-Morra expert, there are some similarities between Smith-Morra and Alapin. It's declined because I remember looking at this. If you play d4, c takes d4, right? This would be the Smith-Morra. Black can actually play knight f6 here, and this transposes back into this Alapin line that we're seeing here with knight f6 and then some d4 at some moment.
Okay.
So white did wait to play d4, but there are those transpositions between the Smith-Morra and the Alapin. It was actually years ago when one of my students came to me, was asking about the Smith-Morra and the Alapin, like what to play against it. And it was like, well, let me tell you, you can play the same thing. So learn this one line, and
yeah, d5
you're
is
set.
quite typical. I usually like to play with e6 and try to get some French pawn structure, typically.
Yeah.
Against the Alapin. So I don't believe I was getting exactly these positions, because if you play e6, then when you go d5, you'll take with the pawn. But I have taught some of my students to play this with white on a different move order. You're still thinking about the bishop f5, aren't you?
I'm still thinking about it all, just trying to the different subtleties in these positions.
I would have liked the bishop in g4, but I wonder, like, if black had put it there, maybe there would be some sacrifice ideas with bishop takes f7 and knight g5.
Bishop takes f7.
If the bishop were to be in g4, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, if you've played man, I feel like quite a few openings you run into this bishop g4 just to show this idea. Okay, it normally wouldn't be bishop f5 then bishop g4, but bishop g4, it's quite easy to fall into this discovery idea, because even if you're thinking about knight g5 here, that doesn't come with check. White needs to sacrifice the bishop first. Both players are keeping a relatively close in time, so it's
It's a
It's a
game.
balanced
It's a
position.
game.
It's a game,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, Black would love to trade some minor pieces, but it's gonna take him some time probably to do that.
Yeah. Other
And I like the
boards
queen in
that we
d6.
have, yeah, the queen on d6. It is one of those that often, just keeps your opponent on their toes when the queen has such a wide range of movement. What opening? Vihan played the Alapin. 6-4 something with a pawn. Yes, a pawn was involved. Steven, welcome.
Let's go to board 3, the K-6 championship. So we had some Nimzo Indian, and is one of those lines where Black gives up the dark square bishop and then tries to set up on a King's Indian style where they got rid of their supposedly bad bishop. And now knight d7, I'm assuming, will be played by queen e7 or rook e8 and try to go for e5. Or you want knight e4?
I wanted knight e4. In my last tournament, I played something like this with f5, and it actually wasn't good. So maybe I haven't learned my lesson, but
So you want to do it again?
I mean,
just to see?
if you take it on c3, where this e4 square you have more control over, I think it makes more sense to play this knight e4, e4, really put a clamp down. Because what was wrong in my game is my opponent was actually, like, I was just a little bit too slow. My opponent was able to post up d5, e4, really shut down those light squares. So I wasn't getting the advantage of this setup with the bishop on b7, the knight coming in. But here feels like it could be different. After knight e4, what do you play here?
I was thinking queen c2, f5, and I would love to play some d5 at some point, but I'm not ready for it right now, so...
Yeah,
maybe,
d5,
I
big
know it
idea.
looks kind of strange, but could I just go bishop e1?
Bishop e1.
Yeah, like, I just don't want to give you my bishop.
That makes sense. And it also, for preparing d5, I could always have a cop-out if this pressure was too much. So it does get rid of that.
I mean, if you go d5, you're gonna get stone wall that's not really that ideal for Black.
Yeah, I don't want, I never want the stonewall as Black. So much offense to those that play the stonewall Dutch. I hate that opening.
for both colors, I get.
No, it's just, I mean, I will say the one benefit is it's a guaranteed win for white. That's the one nice thing about the stonewall. No, it's
Yeah, everyone is gonna try it, and then they will be back to this VOD, Kayden, and they will.
I have this ongoing battle with people in stream about the Stonewall Dutch, and one of my favorite experiences is I was playing Grandmaster Min Lee, really amazing player, really good, blitz player, quick player, and we were playing blitz games, and someone went in his chat to redeem him playing the Dutch, and someone went in my chat to redeem me playing d4.
I see.
And so here I'm playing this absolute monster in blitz, and chat gets in to play the Dutch. I'm like, okay, guys, I don't care who I'm playing, I'm not gonna lose. And I ended up beating him. And so now I'm like, guys,
So now
Minley's amazing, but not even he can make the Dutch amazing.
I see. Now you got extra confidence. That was the boost that you needed to be able to make that statement. I mean, I've had my ups and downs with the Dutch. I've had some tough losses. When I was younger, I was playing it. There was this really bad loss that I got in some team competition. It was pretty important. And somehow I lost that game, so I don't remember exactly how it went.
I blocked out that memory.
I blocked it out, and there was supposed to be a live transmission, but they put the wrong name, so that's actually not my game. It's someone else's game, because my game was a Dutch, and that game against that player is actually something else in the database. So now I don't even remember how terribly I've lost to it, but. I think in some situations it can work depending on the setup that white has, because white wants to have specific trades. But here, I think what I would like to do with white is try to keep my bishop pair, because usually in the Dutch you're trying to trade the darks for bishops in the Stonewall better said. And if I manage to do that, I think white will have a good position. Of course, it's tough because I don't have as much space as I wanted. If I had the chance to play b3 first and bishop b2, then I could go knight e1, f3, push you back. But I think after f5, I kind of have to move the bishop if I want to keep it, because if I would play b3, you probably would take my bishop in c3, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'd think about it. Maybe do a little hovering that some players do. Just see how much you don't want me to take the bishop, and then if you really don't, maybe I go for it. Think about it later. No, black is going to maintain a lot of this dominance over the light square. It is not dependent on this knight on e4. The knight on e4 helps a little bit, so potentially trading it for the bishop, not a bad idea at all.
And 94 was played, so we will see if our ideas will be followed by these players. You want to go to board 4? We had a London system, I heard.
A London system.
You're a fan of those. Well, maybe more Jobava system. This was not a Jobava, but...
No,
Oh, you're not a fan?
So I learned the London when I was like 1700. And then when I was 2200, I switched to like Queen's Gambit stuff. But I continued to play the London online. So I wasn't giving away like my openings and whatnot. And it's also a really easy opening to play if you have those faster time controls. So
I disagree, but okay. We'll have another talk about that later.
It's okay. We can play some blitz games over. Give me the white pieces, a good London. We'll see what happens. No, so I kept playing it online. But at this point, I don't really have theory. It's just kind of what I've found to work. Like, it's very practical. And so, yeah, sometimes I transpose into a Jobava. Sometimes I actually play a Tory with bishop g5. Sometimes, I just play a normal London. All based on how my opponent does, and honestly, sometimes based on how I feel. Now, that's how I do it, but in a lot of ways, the London is becoming a very theoretical opening. A lot of people are furthering the opening like a crazy amount. I mean, this was something that you really only saw the London occasionally, or like from Agata Kamsky, who is well known for playing the London for many years. But it's become sort of a mainline opening. It's been played in some world championships from some very serious games by the top of the top. There have been chessable courses on it now.
Quite a bit of them, actually.
Yeah, it went from like a meme opening that everybody hates to a meme opening that everybody hates, but there's a lot of theory on. And I gotta say, White's position looks great. I mean, hear me out. That bishop on b5, you could get some quick pressure with knight e5. This is one of the big dangers from the London, is this early light square pressure when Black's king is still there. I don't know. I'd be a little worried if I was Black. I think White needs to do some calculating. Obviously, if you play knight e5 right now, there's some c takes d4 concerns. So it could be maybe first queen a4 would be my instinct, just to wait for a moment and see what Black is going to do to defend. And then you start to open up the door to knight e5 ideas. You potentially even have d takes c5, bishop takes c5, and b4 ideas. You cannot take because the knight is pinned. Let me pick up that piece. And when you move back, now I suddenly get c5. Yeah, I think queen a4 here, and I'd be very happy.
Yeah, I mean, so the reason I was saying that I disagree with you regarding the London is that I feel very often coaches show their students who don't really have that knowledge enough of positional chess, because I think the London system is more of a positional kind of opening. it can go into an attacking game, but it's also in a positional attacking kind of way. And
Yeah.
so oftentimes when you're too low rated of a player, you don't have the understanding on how to alternate between when to play c3, when to go c4, in those kind of ways. And oftentimes it's just taught as a system, so you always put your pieces this way. And I think that's a wrong kind of teaching, because you really don't actually. You don't always play the exact same way. It has to do also with the way your opponent sets up their pieces, and whether they put pressure in d4, in d4 or not, and whether they play e6 with the bishop in c8 or with the bishop out. And so there are a few nuances that if you're not familiar with, you actually tend to just mess up on good opportunities. So I think this can be played once you have developed a sense of positional chess, and ideas, it shouldn't be taught on the go, because it's a system and it's
Yeah.
easy. There's no theory, supposedly. I think those are myths
Yeah.
that you have to be careful for.
Yeah, and you do see it here. White played the c4 move that, in this case, seems to be working out fantastically. Protect that bishop on b5, open up the queen. Yeah, no, there are these little subtleties that you definitely have to watch out for playing this opening. And if you're not aware, then you can actually miss out on a lot of this thing. Fabiano Caruana was actually one that commented on all the memes about the London, about saying it's kind of a boring, solid opening, and said, I don't get it. It's an attacking opening. Like, to him, with all that theory, if you really know what you're doing, the potential is there. Black needs to be careful. And I do feel like that is coming through. Instead of the normal c3, White has played c4 here. And the effects of that, I think, are quite nice.
We had some interesting things going on in the chat. People disagreeing or agreeing with some of these things of what black should do or not. I've seen combination of bishop f5 and c5. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. That's one setup that black can choose.
Well, it does. My one thought about that is I feel like normally you'd want to go
Queen b6 first.
Queen b6 first.
Yeah.
And just, I mean, there are some d takes c5 lines in this case.
I think you take on b2,
that
right?
get really messy, but I believe this is more mainline stuff. Is Queen b6, d takes c5, Queen takes b2. I forget the lines. I don't normally play this way as White. And I don't play this way as Black because I mean I don't play the London to get into theory, so any of this I try and avoid.
I
But
played
it
it
looks
one
like
time. I didn't get much with black.
okay, there are some games here. Roughly, this is how the line follows. Yeah, e4.
I think the discussion in the chat has gone way beyond chess. So let's go back to chess, guys. Let's go back to the chess part. That's why we're here, for the chess part.
Yeah, people that I've definitely seen on stream. Fantastic. Lots of amazing people in chat. Because this is a commentary stream, it is more focused on chess instead of some of the antics we get up to on Chess Sharks. But yes, I will say, just on the overall, we are in a very nice, spacious room, beautiful U.S. chess wall behind us, and Columbus, Ohio, where the tournament is located, is a wonderful sight. I've also had a lot of good food, which goes a long way for me personally. There is this food court connected to the convention center where the tournament is being played, and every place I've tried so far has been really good. Actually, it's been amazing. So I mean, I where we are, this room, all of it has been great.
Yeah, it's definitely a great location, and as we mentioned yesterday too, the playing area it just gives this good feeling. And I think usually when you play a tournament where everything is organized well, then you tend to have good memories, even if maybe chess wise may could have not been the the best one.
Yeah.
So we certainly hope that everyone here is having a good time and getting the learning experiences that should be taken from each tournament, and yeah, just keep coming for more and keep working to try to get better in
Yeah.
chess.
100%.
We can go to first board in under 1400 section if you want to.
Yes. Board
Nine,
9.
board nine. So in K through 6 under 1400, we have just one player who's on 5 out of 5, and that's Lucas Vu. And he's playing against Joshi Rayansh. And that's quite an interesting position, I thought.
Yeah, it was a Scandinavian, which not the most common opening, but one you usually see here and there with white. A lot of people play it as black just to get more of a unconventional but playable position. But I will say, looking over the game thus far, I really dislike black here played bishop b4 and then took on c3. I like the bishop. I think the bishop, especially in these positions, can have a ton of value with this c6 e6 setup that black pretty often gets. And this bishop on c3, yeah, the bishop on c3 looks like an absolute monster now. Just very, very comfortable pressure and control over the dark squares.
And it's interesting here because, white has castled long side. If white had castled short, then we would have an opposite side castling kind of position where I think black's attack would be much faster, right, with g5, g4, because you have h3 being played. But this way, black is just struggling with the space. So we do like white. It's not going to be so easy to improve further, I think.
Yeah,
Would you play g4 next?
for white, I was actually thinking more about what black could be doing.
Yeah, if you touch that knight, I'll go knight e5. I think I'll be happy about it.
Okay, let's.
Okay, maybe
Hold
not.
on, knight a4.
Maybe not immediately.
I had one idea.
You had one idea to get the bishop. I can't do that. Okay. So maybe I can go for... How do I want to keep that bishop?
It's a weird idea, but is there
Just
any situation which you play
b3, bishop b2, but you can still go knight a4.
okay?
And now
I'm inspired by your bishop e1 in the other position.
I see.
Look at it. Look
Keeping
at
the
that
bishop.
about bishop on a1.
As long as you don't lose your bishop in c4, which I guess with the knight in a4 it's impossible to do.
Yeah, because if you ever try and prepare the way for b5, then I will simply take that. I mean, you have to move the queen to play b5. You'll lose that pin. I mean,
Actually, that's nice. I like that.
it's a bit unconventional, but if it does what you need it to do, then can't hate on it too much,
Yeah,
right?
you can go king a2 followed by,
Yeah, you just
threatening the knight. Then you might go
then
b4, bishop
maybe
b3.
b4, yeah. It's one of those principles that is often not talked too much about when it comes to two bishops. But if you have the two bishops and your opponent doesn't, you have some extra freedom to push the pawns around your king, because okay, in this case you have the dark squared bishop. You're dominant on the dark squares. The bishops as well cover the squares very well. So when you have these two bishops, your king likely finds safety either on the light squares, dark squares. You have control over both, pretty good handle, and it enables you into being able to push these pawns a bit more in front of the king, which is 100% the case here. Let's just play king b8. This line you were mentioning, Sabina, with b4. I mean, you're pushing these pawns. It feels like you're opening up your king, But the king also is very, very safe with these bishops covering it.
Because you have both, so everything is covered. And bishop b3, a4, a5 would be possibly the continuation, not c4, because c4 might leave d3 weak. But
Yeah.
I think that could be quite interesting. My suggestion was to move on to k through 5, the board 1, which is 11 there, because these are the two players that are on 5 out of 5, and the only two players in the k through 5 championship. And I thought that turned out to be an interesting Sicilian, close Sicilian.
Okay, I'm gonna ask what I feel is the obvious question. If I take and then just play bishop f5, okay, the computer doesn't like it, but
Yeah, I think I should take it a pawn, right? I don't believe knight takes as an option. Did white mess up? I thought white's position was a bit better.
One sec. Let's maybe.
Yeah, the ratings of the players, so Ted Wang is 2130 USCF, while Vivan had that really nice game yesterday against Ethan, right? Vivan was the one who won yesterday against Ethan.
Yes, I believe so.
Let
me check. Yes.
Yeah, there was that super positional game, winning an extra pawn early in the opening and then just kind of going into a knight in game. It was our favorite game of the day yesterday.
Yeah, it was a really excellent game, and of course taking down the top seed in the section is always a big victory. Here I'm starting to think maybe c4, if I'm not missing anything, could be quite the adventure, to say the least.
Yeah, because the rook is in... I don't like how this turned out. Did white play a 4 too soon?
Yeah, in this position, f4 feels a bit in the wrong direction. In this case, I would be thinking more about a potential capture on d5. Okay, bishop takes, knight takes, doesn't really matter. Something like knight e4, and then playing, maybe bishop g4 or bishop e3 to attack on the dark squares. You could also potentially try and go for this type setup, or just keep very patient. Rook d1, don't commit any of the pawns, don't commit the bishop yet. Continue to do a little bit of piece maneuvering, maybe with knight g5. This is actually the structure was c3, d3, e4 last week that I played against you.
Yep.
and I played in my game before. I'm not an expert here, but in the games that I did play, it felt like flexibility.
You took with the pawn though.
Well, I took with the knight first, and then you took the knight, so I took with the pawn. But I mean, it's a very similar concept. Like you or at least I felt like it was very important have that flexibility and just the little improvements, very patient play. And I don't know, I think it's fine. I think this is perfectly playable for white. I think both players would have an absolute game there. F4 just by nature feels a bit wrong. I don't think it's necessarily easy, but I mean, I guess the plan would be going for e5.
Yeah, but that gives f5 square. I'm not really liking it very much.
Yeah,
the queen in e2 is just badly placed there. I think queen f2 has to be played fast.
Okay, queen b6 was played, which I think is, as far as trying to threaten stuff but not committing too much, is not a terrible move.
But now e5 could actually work, because if you go e5 and you check just d4, right?
Okay, maybe I play bishop f5 first.
Just okay, knight e3?
Oh, knight e3. Yeah, knight e3 is nasty. Okay. So no bishop f5. Yeah, I guess now it's a bit tricky. This queen b6 with d4 on the horizon feels a bit useless. I mean, it's not entirely because you're playing queen b2, but I just feel like you're not getting a whole lot from this pressure on this dark squares. That's where I really felt like c4 was the better try because you put pressure on this immediately and you open up the door for queen b6. So you still have kind of the same idea, but you are not committing first to queen b6. That may or may not be a useful move. You start with the very clear, this is a useful move, put pressure on the center, and oh wait, stuff is happening. Queen b6, king h1, and now c4 is on the board. So black did end up getting this setup with
Which is
c4.
good. Which is good for black, because you're undermining the chain.
Yes, and the big difference between c4 right away or c4 even now, where white, it really feels like should have played this e5 move, is with his pawn on e5, you could comfortably play d4, right? For example, in this position, you just play d4. You know, what's the problem? Look at this, super solid pawn chain, super solid pawn on e5, where now with c4, you don't quite get that same effect because black has d takes e4, and suddenly there are going to be some tactical concerns if you take back on e4, where bishop g5, bishop f5, bishop g4, all moves you have to consider, adding the attacker opening up with a discovery on that e4 square.
I wonder if white was thinking to capture in c4, to just go knight e3 to then capture, actually. Are you sure about this?
Go knight e3.
Why don't you, after d4, why don't you capture an e4 with the knight first? Don't you think that could be...
Oh yeah, you also open up f5.
Well, I know in a way you don't want to trade the knight in d2 because it blocks white's development of the bishop in c1, but also the knight also puts pressure in c4, so if you do that, you get rid of it first, then that's protected, so you can just hold on to the c4 pawn. I would rather keep that one than the e pawn, maybe, unless you can play f5.
Yeah, I mean knight takes e4 looks good. I feel like I kind of feel like both. It feels just quite nice for black, which makes it understandable why white instead played d takes c4.
Yeah, actually, I like it. What do you take now? Do you take in c4? Do you take in c4 or do you take in e4? Which one do you
I don't
prefer?
know.
It's
my
still
my
thinking.
my gut says take on e4. That would be like my gut reaction. But I could see a world where these pawns,
Could become strong.
yeah, could be really strong.
But if you take in c4, after that, you have some ideas to bring a piece in d3, but then you also allow white the center and the engine does not like it
Yeah,
so
maybe
much.
maybe
So
the
it's-
same knight e3 move is actually looking quite nice. So is there a medium route?
Knight takes e4.
Maybe knight takes e4.
Can we take in d5 first?
Yeah, this could be a situation where just don't complicate it. Don't stress too much about the
Now we
future.
have
That's
something.
yes.
Knight
Yes.
e3, maybe.
That's definitely something there.
You t-
Anyways, I think d takes e4. Yeah, I thought about it real
Was it
hard
play? Yeah.
and it was like
He found it even faster than we did.
yeah, I think this is one of those situations. Don't overcomplicate it. Just
But
take the
Vivian
pawn
is having
and
like a really good tournament, 5 out of 5, and
This position is fantastic. I think
Big chances to.
Ted is playing too quickly, honestly. It's these are the kind of positions where you typically want to devote a lot of your time to this middle game, because every move is such a big decision, really affecting the pawn structure, really affecting where your pieces are going to be able to go. Like King H1, for example, like F4, for example. Same for black. I mean, these moves, they just seem so innocent in a way, but these are big moves. These really, really affect what's going to be going on in this position.
Also, the position is open. It's not the type of closed positions where you have time to maneuver a bit your pieces and bring them to play. Just it's a bit tough
Yeah.
to make fast decisions. The next game I wanted us to go to kind of, check out the top players first, is board 19, which is the first board on K3 championship. And both of these players are on 5 out of 5. And I thought white was doing quite well, so just let's see
Yes.
how that happened. Maybe we can catch up with it. Again, both players are playing a bit too fast, but
Rosalima, I was saying I am not typically a fan of these bishop b5 lines for black, although white did not take on c6, left the bishop until later. But that d4 e5 setup, it's a game. I've played a lot of positions like this myself with this d4 e5 black. It feels a little bit awkward, but in the long term, white has to watch out for this d4 pawn as the backward pawn. Black can get a little pressure, potentially breaking through with f6 at some point.
But there's not enough knights. There's no knight left for black. You usually need a knight to put pressure there. So I would have loved to have a knight in f5 instead. Since I played these pawn structures from the Caro, you get similar pawn structures.
Yeah.
And I know that without a knight is actually tough. There is some famous game, I think maybe of Capablanca, with that pawn structure for black, where he's managed to kind of take over through the c file. But this is not the right kind of approach. Black really needs to do something on the queen side here.
Yeah, and it ended up just being tactical. E6, white was able to play f3, threatening this g4 attack. And I believe you can't stop it with h5 because white just follows through h3. If you continue to say, hey, I'm not going to let you play g4, then this pawn will drop after bishop g5.
Or queen f2.
Yeah, queen f2 as well. Black decided to just accept fate, play g5. I'm guessing keep that h-pawn to solidify the bishop at some point. Bishop g6, both protect each other. But this is not looking so good for Hardy here. Up a pawn, and white has some very good pressure. White is definitely in control of this game. Now, I do like the fact that Hardy here is trying to keep queens on the board, keep that pressure with the rook on g6, trying to turn it into something. But sad reality here is it should be over already.
Well, extra pawn and better knight. Yes, it's gonna be tough for Hardy to defend this, but you never know. I actually gotta say that I'm really surprised by board 3 of this championship, or actually board 4, right? Because we have Akash playing against Olson, and they have a mainline Nidor, and these kids are playing in K3, right? So they are less than 10 years old.
This game needs like a warning label or something. What the heck?
It's definitely quite interesting. So the players are Akash is 1920, while Jack is 1495. So to play this main line of the Nidorf, I think is just quite interesting. And that goes to show that I need to study some Sicilian, Kayden. I think I need to go into this. If these kids can do it, we can too, right? Come on. Did we get Did we get to that? I mean, I don't know. Did I get to that age where I can't study anymore? Because
Uh,
now I feel motivated.
I don't know. When I was
Mm,
I think 16, around 16, I was definitely one of those players that just knew an insane amount of theory. Like the longest I ever played, the entire game ended up being theory against
wow.
Young EU back playing in the challenger section at Tata Steel. We played 35 moves. It was 100% computer preparation memorized.
Wow.
And now maybe I am older because I'm at the point where I'm like, yeah, I'll play knight f3 and just do whatever I can to take my opponent out of theory, and then let's play. Like, what theory do I know? I know move one. I'm playing knight f3. That's it. We'll figure it out later, because these battles are intense, and the fact that you have someone 1400 that knows this, that emphasizes I'm making the right decision. I'm not.
No,
No, I'm
no.
not going.
Kayden,
1400s
no.
busting out theory like this. I
That's not what I was hoping for. I wanted you to be motivated. You know,
no,
we
I'm
need to inspire these generations. Like they, how come we are their inspiration? They should inspire us too, right? Like we inspire each other. And just go back to the theory, Kayden.
no,
Let's just
I'm
do.
inspired to let them play theory and
Oh,
me to
that's your
avoid it
inspiration.
against these kids. Hey, this is crazy. I mean,
I've
these
seen
knight or
these
bishop
lines.
g5 lines. These are some of the most insane. This is where you also have the poison pawn lines with queen b6 instead, or I guess in that case it would be e6 instead of
Queen c7 first.
e6 instead of knight d7. e6 here, f4,
Queen
then
b6
queen
is like
b6.
this. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so this, I mean, as far as theory goes in the Night Orf, I would say these bishop g5 lines are amongst the messiest, most theoretical, most insane. I actually did play the poison pawn variation myself for quite a number of years, and I did well with it,
See?
but
Oh,
it was just so intense. It was, I felt like I would look for hours and hours at variations only to have like Ray Robson. I played it against him. He surprised me on like move, I don't know what it was, like 15, and it was just like this crazy prep that had never really been played before. And you also have some of Fabi's prep as white against the poison pawn variation. Like it's not for the faint of heart, and that
oh.
goes for white and black. These bishop g5 lines are crazy, and we're definitely seeing it here with the fact that the king's on e7. Black is up a piece for, is it
Two
two
pawns? Two
pawns?
pawns.
Two pawns. And my first thought, of course, is why don't we play bishop takes b5? Because we're this committed already. Probably not the move, but what?
But you don't have enough pieces to attack. Like the problem is that bishop, as you say, is badly placed. If somehow you could magically transfer it to h3, I think that would be nice. But
So, earlier in chat, Casual Player was
hi, by
talking
the way.
about.
We missed saying hi
Wait,
to some
what?
people. Wait.
What? Did 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 this actually?
Wait. Wasn't wait, bishop c8 was played? Oh my god. That's
Wait,
no.
what?
That's sad. Oh, I feel bad for Jack. He played so good. And now we might just see a resignation or something. I I thought this was an exciting game. I didn't. Maybe we just. I mean, they played this 15 minutes ago, but still, like, we jinxed them or something. It just feels that way.
Yeah, I was ready to start diving into
Some lines,
some
how to
lines,
can
some
prepare.
plans. I like the suggestion, Rook HE1. I was gonna start talking. If a casual player mentions tips that coaches give to students to slow
Okay, you can
down.
still talk about it.
No, I was gonna say like this is a really good position for that. Make sure you slow down. This is such a crazy position. You got to find your plan, and that all is still true. But Bishop C8 tragedy struck so quickly.
And it was played instantly.
Unfortunately, yes, I believe Black's idea was to try and trap the queen themselves with Bishop G4. The problem is Knight takes E3 actually guards this G4 square. So this isn't even a case where it's like, well, I missed that, but at least my threat was so strong that I'm still in this game. No, this Knight D5 works so terribly perfectly that it's over now. I mean,
That's really tough.
this yeah, I imagine a pause, just an absolute shock of what I've done, and then a resignation here from Jack.
Oh, okay. We have a request to go for a game, board 13. Harvey playing the white pieces against Yondon, I think.
Was it Harvey or
Oh,
this game?
sorry. Oh,
Hardy.
oh no. Which game is it, Chestopia? Please let us know the number. It makes things easier a bit.
Yeah. If this was the game, we did tune
Which
into this
Sasha?
right before. Yeah, Sasha Milo Schaefer.
Oh, that one.
Yeah,
I guess
yeah,
that's the one. Okay.
Yeah, not much has changed from when we last looked at it. We went through it a little bit earlier, but currently Sasha is winning. Like this, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. White is up a pawn. White has a really good position. Maybe the simplest here, you'd want to do a little. Oh, takes d4. I mean, it's not completely over. Queen's rook's
just said
still in
it
the
was
position. I know. I
You can
know.
go back on your word.
I know.
Wait,
Well,
why
it should.
don't you
It
take
should.
it?
It
Why
should
don't
be
you take
over.
in d5? Like,
It should be over, but I just saw someone blunder their queen, so
we
I'm
have to be
reminded of the reality
True,
of
true.
chess.
What about rook e6? Is that too much to try to trade towards a rook in game? I mean, are we giving too much?
On b2.
Taking g6 and check, and what's the eval there?
Sneaky. Yeah, because if you go here, I go back.
And if you go to d7, you go to h8.
Yeah.
Okay, can we try to mate here with white somehow, or is it just... Okay, maybe we just take the pawn. Just take it first to see how black defends. Because we're hitting rook e7 now, which will be a bit...
No, I think this looks really good. I was wondering if there's any... Oh, white went for rook e8, which, yes.
Oh, even better.
Don't go for the trades, actually go for the checkmate. Just right away, put pressure on the king. Yeah, it's looking really good for white. This rook e8's really nice.
So where is the checkmate? Sorry, I'm not seeing it quite yet. So yeah. Takes.
How do I think...
Oh, maybe you go queen e7, queen d8, so that you have... Oh, that's nice. So queen e7, king g8, queen g8. Yeah. And now rook comes in. Oh, but wait, I'm blocking my queen.
Yeah, you actually block. That's...
Oh.
But I think this still should be winning.
Check. King g5. h4. Or h... Yeah, h4.
Okay,
yeah.
mate in 6.
Okay, let's find it.
Mate in 6.
The problem is I take it and I got...
Well,
oh, to rook h7. Okay, rook h7, king g5.
Queen e7.
Yeah. King f4, queen e5. Cute. e5. Oh, it's not
King
mate.
g5? It's mate in 2. Wait, it's mate in 2. I see some problems for black. Queen G3, Queen H4.
But it's not mate. It says mate in 2.
It says me too.
Oh my god.
Wait.
I know we're tired, but it's still morning. We're still waking up. We're not tired. We're just like, where is it?
Stockfish, are you sure? Chat.
Where's the
where's
mate
the
in
mate in
2?
two?
Help us. Queen E3. Oh, Queen E3,
Queen
F4, F4,
E3,
Queen
yeah, because
E5.
of F4. There we go. That's what we
Okay.
needed. We needed chat. We needed Roro understands.
I think we're getting tired. Maybe we should take a
Queen
break.
E3 is nice. Yeah, Queen E3 is good. So there's the checkmate. And Queen takes B2 was played.
Okay, so mate in how many?
Mate in 11.
11 moves.
Yeah, all
All
ending
right,
in Queen
let's see
E3.
if White's gonna find it.
The big issue here for black is like it's pretty natural moves. Like obviously we didn't see Queen E3, but even without it, they kind of play themselves, right? If you just follow the line, like if you commit to the line, I don't think it's necessarily one of those that it's like you could miss this, right? You could miss this really nice tactic. It's a pretty straightforward. You just keep checking black until you get to this position where, okay, Queen E3, of course, the fastest way, but overall, there are options here for white to be winning. So it looks like this game is headed in that direction.
Let's look at one more game before we're going on a short break. It's circle back to board 1 in K through 6 championship. The one with between Jashit
Whoa.
and Tariq.
Okay.
Because we
big
stopped
stuff.
somewhere here.
Yeah, so after C5, this is when we last saw it. C5, D5, A6, A4. A little dance with the queen to provoke bishop D2. And Carthy here, H4, H5. G4.
Okay. G5?
G5, it says it was a mistake. My first thought was knight H5 here.
Can't I take it?
Yes, but
oh, and then you go back bishop F5.
Then you go back bishop F5. The light square bishop here just defends so well. It kind of goes back to what I was talking about earlier with those two bishops. Keep the king really safe. You get rid of the one light square bishop, and then you find a lot of solitude in this other, or in your now dominant light square bishop. So knight H5, a bit of a sneaky defensive move. Give up the pawn, but it is worth it to get light square control. Knight FD7 now.
I think black didn't realize how good knight H5 was because it blocks the attack. But now white should have some ways to bring in pieces, no?
Yeah.
What's the fastest way to bring in the queen?
Sorry, thinking about bishop D3, but knight E5 is annoying. Just wondering if it's worth playing F4 first here, just to get rid of knight E5.
I like that.
Solidify G5, and basically you're just saying, look, it's gonna take another move, but the attack is on its way. Bishop D3, because
I also like bishop G4. You know, because your knight is kind of, if you get a5 too, then we can play bishop G4, a6. That.
Yeah, you imagine just to show this knight B6, definitely not the move. But here A5, kick this knight back. But just to show the effect of this pawn on A5, you could play something like bishop G4. Okay, it looks a little bit weird because like, oh no, this bishop will contend. Except that, how do you contend? This knight suddenly has no squares for it to go to. And okay, rook E8's trying to get F8. Now you're getting hit with bishop E6. Yeah, I think just take the squares away.
Yeah.
From this knight. This A5's nice. I mean, there's a world where you want to play it even without knight B6. But I think you start with f4. Any other?
Well, knight f3 would be the other thing, but I mean, he does go knight d5, and if black moves the knight from d7, then the other pieces get to be developed at least a bit. So I love f4 as an idea.
Yeah, f4 feels good. The only other move, kind of with what you were asking earlier, what's the fastest way to get the queen in? I would consider queen b3 here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the computer doesn't.
But I was thinking queen c2, e4, h4, but it's pretty long.
Yeah.
So
No,
we
it
might
does
have
feel
time
better
though.
it does feel better to try and go for
Yeah.
something with the bishop, because
But
then you're getting the bishop and the queen into the
can
game.
you try that though? So queen c2, if he goes knight e5, queen e4. How is he cover? Oh, he can always move the bishop h8.
Bishop f5. Maybe I'm actually not worried about this. Can I just?
No. Oh.
Okay.
Why not bishop h8?
Oh, bishop h8.
Simple defense, and maybe you have something even better than that. Maybe you can even. Yeah.
No, I think bishop h8 is a great point. White should not white's attack is not strong enough that you just ignore everything and go for the attack. You want to keep your opponent's. I mean, you always want to keep your opponent's resources in mind, but particularly in a position like this, you need to be able to evaluate, okay, how strong, how threatening is my attack. Playing out a line like that, I think, is really good, just to say, okay, what if I do just go all in for the attack, go for the checkmate? Oh, black can defend. All right, so black does have some sort of defensive ability there. Let's not go all out. Let's take this a little bit slower, improve our position a little bit more, get our pieces into better places. And that's where I think a move like f4 does seem to be shining. Other considerations, but hey, this is just a nice sort of improving move that also makes it more difficult for black to play. And it's not just about the attack. I think there is a world where, let's say black plays knight or rook e8 to play knight f8. I think there's a world where
that looks nice.
you're actually playing, okay, maybe not bishop g4.
Well, that helps.
Maybe bishop
that helps
d3.
You. Still bishop f5.
And then I was thinking knight e2, knight g3. Like white is still, there's still some attacking considerations, but this is almost switched to more of a positional battle to say, okay, I know you thought the reason I was pushing all these pawns was to checkmate you, and we're still gonna get there, but let me just take advantage of this position, take control of this position, and you're gonna be the one suffering. And that's what it feels like could be the bigger issue. It's not one of those where white has just completely compromised their position in order to get pressure. They actually have a pretty good positional game here outside of the attacking.
And that's all due to the fact that black doesn't have that much space, and the knight in b8 is still yet to find a square. I mean, you could, in a good world, you would play knight d7 and then move the other knight to g6 and put the other knight to f8. But that leaves f5 unprotected. So if you lose that pawn, then things can be dangerous for you. And it's just this is the downside of playing a defense without much space.
Yeah.
If you don't know exactly when to attack and how to create your counterplay, you might end up getting positions with less space where, if the opponent knows how to play, you'll be suffering for quite some time.
Yeah.
So tactics
100%.
is probably the only thing that's gonna save you here. If you can come up with some ideas to free up your pieces, maybe somehow figure out how to go b5.
Yeah, b5 break.
It's
maybe
tough.
avoid trading the bishop and go for it that way. But I think this does go back to this knight fd7 moment where I thought knight h5 100% was just about defending. But as you say, like the struggles with this knight, I think it's just don't have another piece that you're stumbling over. This knight on fd7 in some ways is almost
Looks like
a worse piece.
Went for your
for
your idea.
I was
idea.
I was spitballing. That wasn't serious.
I mean, I guess technically f4 would still be possible after 95, but then there's a chance black might choose to move the knight somewhere else, maybe to g4 or something.
Yeah, and
You want to go for some sacrifice?
well, I was thinking we start with rook e8 first.
Oh, I was thinking bishop d4, but it's...
Bishop d4 to attack.
Yeah, I want to hit f2 and then try to bring in more pieces.
Well,
and
that's why rook e8 is just give me the square for the knight. Kind of saying that I'm gonna go for the exact same thing in that other line with rook e8, knight f8 is black, but you're slower as white, right? Because you didn't play f4 right away. I mean, now if you don't play f4, then knight e5, knight d3 ideas start to come to life. So you play f4 now. Well, I'm gonna be faster, right? Before the bishop was already on d3.
Yeah.
Now it's not. I actually beat white to this fight for this light square diagonal. Get bishop f5. Okay, it's still good for white. It's still cramped for black, but this feels at least playable. I mean, this is not just an easy white has complete control. You have to watch out for bishop d4 ideas. You're going to have to watch out probably more for b5 at some point. Maybe this queen coming over to e7, f7. This bishop jumping into one of these squares if you're not careful with the defense. So this to me, even though queen b3 was one of the moves I was looking at, I think it's just a little bit slower. And if black is quick here, can get back into the game.
For a bit, for sure.
Yeah.
So it remains to be seen. Chestopia was mentioning that there are not as many girls in this national championship. I've seen quite a few, actually.
Yeah.
I think there are quite a few. Some of them are actually playing on top boards. I've seen... Whom did I see? Yesterday I saw some... Chen Celine is playing, and there is another girl, Chovanek, Alice, I think. So I've seen a few girls, maybe not as many here, but there's definitely quite a few. Every national championship we have a girls club room, and everyone, all girls are invited to go there. There are simuls, there are game analysis happening, lectures. You can learn more about how you can get involved in creating more environments where more girls can be together and just kind of support each other to continue staying in the game. So I think that is something that's happening at each national championships. And if you have a daughter, make sure you bring her there.
Yeah.
And try to have some fun, meet some friends, and just kind of learn more about how you can keep them into the game. And I love that US Chess is always inviting some guests that are female players, and they talk about their life experience with chess, how they got into it. And recently they started pairing a top female player with maybe a female player that maybe is not, hasn't gotten too much, but has done really well with academics. Has used chess as a means to continue improving and going into academics, and how chess has helped them, last national championships, which was the high school one in Baltimore a few weekends ago. I was one of the guests, and I was paired with Rochelle Ballantyne, who is the grandmaster. She's a lawyer. She's a really good lawyer. She's working on that. She's told me about it. But she actually went to a lot of big schools to get there. She went to, NYU and Columbia and Stanford. I think she kind of did her different degrees. And she told me how she used chess to help her get there. And some women choose to become, to stay in the game and try to get better, and others use chess as a means to continue and kind of utilize chess as something that helps their growth in life, and they still stay into the game. So that's what we want. We want to see more experiences like that. We want to hear more about it so that we know that it's possible, and keep with it. But with that said, Kayden, do you want to look at anything else before you take a break?
No, I think that is a great time. All I was gonna add to that, I was wandering a bit around the first day because I was here early before commentary, and it was one of those things that I remember just seeing Irina Crush like walking around. I'm like, ah, look, Irina Crush is here.
Yeah.
That's great. So yeah, it's definitely good that there are activities to encourage females to play because they bring a good fighting spirit to these tournaments always. And uh, hey, throw it out there. Listen to Sabina. If you have a daughter who's been interested in chess, get them more involved. Get them more involved with these events, into those more inviting environments. It's out there. Take those steps. Absolute fantastic opportunities. So I think, yeah, with that, we go on break for a little bit, and we should be back pretty soon here with more action as these games were about midway. So they'll start heating up more and more as we get into it. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
See you soon. Welcome back, everyone, to round 6 of the elementary K through 6 championships here in Columbus, Ohio. Quite a number of changes have happened in the games since we left off.
Yes.
So
there are two queens. There's two queens, and they're both white in this game. So yeah,
Black was doing so good. What happened? They played too fast?
they were taking their time, but I guess went for the wrong plan here. I mean, it is a weird position for sure, but it looks like the bishop fell. The rooks got skewered, and with the material, Ted just started to clean up. Got some really nice pressure, and now, I mean, you'd almost never know that Black was better in this game. This just
Yeah.
looks
White's pawns are
clean.
just marching, and there's not so much you can do about it. It looks like Ted has played it really fast.
Yeah, it's yeah.
So it looks like we'll have a player.
Wait,
6. I'm sorry. That was unexpected. That did not happen, probably, right?
I think
Okay,
this,
even if it did, okay, it's fine. He has 2 queens. He can. What? What is he doing?
I believe this is happening. I mean, moves are being
Oh my
played for both
God.
sides. I think
They're trolling each other?
I think Ted was blown away that Vivin here didn't resign, and is emphasizing the fact that he's winning by a lot by not only sacrificing 1 queen but 2 queens.
I've never done that, have you? I
I
mean, I've
done it
try to-
online.
You have?
Oh
I
yeah.
usually promote more just to kind of show, you know.
See, I actually did it in Title Tuesday.
Oh,
Last time I played. Yeah.
that's how these kids are learning from
Yeah,
you.
pretty
You're
much,
the
yeah.
bad influence,
I am
Kayden.
bad. No, my opponents went for a queen trade that I'm like, wait a second, like if I just make this queen trade, you can't take the queen back because it's gonna be back rank. Queen on b4, my queen was on a4, so I just trade here. But they also had a rook on b5. I'm like, okay, this is the easy move. Or for the troll, I could take the rook on b5, sack the queen. They still can't take because it's going to be back rank problems. And so I sat there for a while. I contemplated, should I? And then I did. Yeah, I played queen takes b5 instead of going for the easier queen takes
see.
b4. You gotta emphasize dominance a little bit. But that's online. Like if you're playing Blitz Bullet, you're having a good time. I understand it. Here over the board on the this is the number 1 board in the K5 section.
Okay.
It's I mean, if you're Vivin now, you let your time run out. That's what you do. Your opponent sacrifices a queen. You take 10 more minutes before taking the second queen, and just no. It's I think Ted's just having fun, but I would definitely resign
I
as
think he
Black
won.
and
I think
move
he
on.
won.
Oh, is it over?
Yeah.
Resigned after Queen C3.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez, what a game. I did also, as I was looking through the games, want to say that Sasha did win. Did not. We weren't the only ones. I just want it noted. This Queen E3 or Queen E5, Queen E3 checkmate that
Just cute.
Roro in chat pointed out was also missed by Sasha, but found another quite nice checkmate here, bringing the rook to h3, rook g3, and then is gonna be checkmating with either queen h8 if you go to h6, or with queen takes f5 if you go to h5. So a nice checkmate pattern. Or wait, hold on, wait, the nicest queen h8 still after king h4.
Yeah, queen
and then queen
h2 is
h2.
nice.
That was
Yeah,
the nicest.
that would be the nicest one.
So yeah, Sasha found it after this. Rook takes f8, went down this whole line, found h4, all of it, and was able to take the win. This is the top board in the K3 championship section. So we will be seeing Sasha playing for the first place next round in the K3, and then Ted in the K5 top boards finishing up.
Yes, and we had some interesting other games. If we go on board 12, for example, which is second board in K5, looks like, it seemed like Black got some attack, but he's on a piece now. So
What
I don't know
happened?
what went wrong.
There was a sacrifice. Bishop takes h3. Oh, queen f5. That is a nice defensive move. You actually do not stop queen h2, don't stop bishop h2 directly. You allow black to play it, but if you go bishop h2, normally the checkmating pattern would be like a bishop g3, king g1, queen h2, queen takes f2. But the obvious problem, you play bishop g3, your queen just hangs, game over. And then queen h2, you actually just run the king, which is what happened. Black didn't play queen h1 here, but the king is on f1. Here, just king f1, and you're solidifying. Really, really nice defensive move. This is one that can be easy to miss because you just feel the need to stop this. That is what your opponent wants to do. You get really locked in into preventing it. But hold on. Do I need to? No. We play
That was,
queen f5, calm, collected.
yeah, and that was probably the move that was missed because it also protects the bishop in d3. So if Black might have thought that, something will be done regarding the mate, then they thought it might be able to capture the bishop in d3, but that covers it too. So it's not.
Yes, I agree. I would expect queen f5 was the move missed by black when going for the sacrifice. And I mean, two bishops, one of those bishops being an extra one for only 2 pawns. This looks fantastic for white. Any reason? Oh, okay. Knight takes d4 is something to watch out for here. The greediness in me wants queen takes
e4.
c6.
Yeah, I thought about it, but just queen e4.
What if I do both? Can I have both? Can I have my cake and eat it too? Queen takes c6, then queen e4.
Yeah, probably.
I cannot. I cannot. No, I cannot. I cannot have my cookie and eat it too.
Because you